Quitting is not a bad thing. In fact, it takes strength of character to know when to let go. Here's 9 things we quit to simplify our lives. Simplifying our lives hasn't always been smooth sailing. There's been times when it's been confronting and difficult to know when to turn around and say no. It's a challenging thing to realize you actually want to wander off the perpetual conveyor belt of saying yes all the time, whether it's out of some sense of guilt or obligation, or simply because you were taught it was rude to say no. At least it has been for us. Little by little, over the years, we've become more mindful of where we want to spend our time, our energy, and our money. And since first hearing about minimalism as a lifestyle nearly 8 years ago, we've really made conscious strides to simplify our own lives. A big part of that has been learning to say no when we need to, and even quitting certain things that no longer serve us. So here's 9 things we've quit, all on the way to simplifying our life. Our list builds to the most important and perhaps the most difficult of all, so make sure you stay till the end.
First up, defaulting to yes. So many of us are raised to think it's impolite to say no, so we default to yes. We're taught from when we're little to always say yes and take on more and more, even if it's costing us our precious time and energy or negatively affecting our mental health. Saying yes to everything and everyone means you will inevitably take on more than is manageable, and your life will start to skew towards completing other people's priorities instead of your own. Simply saying no when someone asks something of you that you know you don't have capacity for can feel deeply uncomfortable. The schooling system has reinforced this since we were students through things like mandated extracurriculars, excessive homework outside of school times, and commitments that extend beyond weekends. Saying no didn't seem like an option when I was overwhelmed with too much, and that too much snowballed from saying yes to everything.
Taking on extra responsibilities and going above and beyond what is required of us is praised and applauded in so many aspects of life, beyond schooling years and into working adult life. But the harsh reality is more and more of us are reporting being stressed out, overwhelmed, and the mental health crisis is steadily increasing as we become more overworked and overburdened by always defaulting to yes. So sometimes it's important and even the best thing you can do to say no. You'll be the best judge of this for the things in your own life, for what you are happy to say yes to, but also the things, the responsibilities and obligations you might take a second thought for and even say no to. Always defaulting to yes isn't the best way forward if you want to simplify your own life. It'll mean you're opening yourself up to the whims of others and their priorities majority of the time. And an important thing Josh and I have learned over the years is that every time you say yes to something, you're actually always saying no to something else.
Jess and I quit defaulting to saying yes many years ago, and it was perhaps one of the biggest catalysts for simplifying our own lives. That's not to say we don't say yes to things, we definitely do, but we're far more mindful and intentional with what we do commit our time to. So take some time to weigh up options of what you do and don't want to say yes to. It will 100% mean you're being more mindful and discerning with your own life and simplifying it in the process.
Next, as a second thing on our list of what we quit to simplify our lives, we quit overloading our to-do list. This one is closely tied to our previous point, because overloading your to-do list is certainly a surefire way to overly complicate your life. Having an overburdened to-do list and schedule means you're always busy, and not having time to decompress and de-stress builds and builds to complicating life more than it needs to be. We've talked about this in previous videos, but we actually try to only ever plot out our key 3 things we want to achieve on any given day. We found that limiting it to 3 things, we're more focused and discerning with what we want to spend our time on, and monotasking certainly has a way of simplifying life compared to always multitasking. If we overload our to-do list, it's a quick way to get overwhelmed with the sheer amount of stuff to get done. It can be really disheartening to approach the end of the day and not even have half the things crossed off your to-do list.
Jess and I are self-employed, so time management is crucial. We can't imagine going back to overcomplicating our everyday lives by overloading our to-do list on a regular basis like we used to. So if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed with life and you just don't have enough time, try out actually not doing more and try doing less. Try keeping your to-do list to your key 3 things you want to achieve and don't overload your schedule.
I'm a big fan of calendar blocking, and in my work as a project manager, I've always used this method to manage my time well. Keeping it simple and prioritizing the 3 most important things and actually scheduling them as blocks of dedicated time on your calendar blocking, is incredibly valuable. It's how you'll actually end up up getting more worthwhile things done off your to-do list and find clarity about where your time is best spent. So if you want to simplify your life, quit overloading your to-do list.
Third on our list of things we've quit to simplify our lives, and perhaps not as straightforward as the previous 2 points, we've quit shaping our lives around the pressure of societal norms and timings. This is a big one. It's one I think we could film an entire dedicated video about, and it would be lengthy. But the pressure to shape our lives around certain societal norms and timings of achieving certain things by a certain age has only grown as we both turned 30 the last year.
I think with humans, there's always been this pressure to fit in with the crowd and do what is expected of you to keep on the track that has almost been paved for you. Whether it's this day and age's expectations of you have to have babies before you're 30, which means you have to find a partner and have a big expensive wedding before that, which means you absolutely have to go to university prior to that and get exceptional grades so you can have a stable 9-to-5 job to pay for the excessive amount of student loan debt you've accrued. It's a lot. These are the very real expectations we've personally felt pushed upon us, and quite frankly, I've come to realize that everyone is on their own timeline. Everyone has their own path they're forging, and this pressure to conform with what others think you should achieve and by when in your life, well, it's just better to let it go and do what feels best and right for you personally.
Life will feel lighter and things will be 1,000 times easier if you stop shaping your life around the pressure of societal norms and timings. At least for Jess and I, this has been the case. We've taken the pressure off ourselves to achieve everything at exactly the right time and just chosen to live our lives and do the best we can. We'll take the plunge and do new and life-altering things on our own timing and when it feels right for our own lives, and certainly not on anyone else's timeline. Things are wholeheartedly and immensely more enjoyable this way. Life becomes far more complicated if you bow to what everyone else's idea of what your life should be and what it should look like. So keep it simple and simplify your own life, as you're the best judge of what is right for you and when.
Next, as a fourth thing we've quit to simplify our lives, we've quit obligation outings. These are the events and things you really don't want to go to, but feel an obligation to attend. They're the tricky to get out of situations that you dread every moment leading up to going. They're the kind of events or outings that remove you from your home, your family, or precious spare time, that fill you with a sense of annoyance and dread because you just couldn't say no. We've certainly had our share of these over the years, and I'm sure we'll have more and more pop up into the future. It's just a part of life. But we'd like to think we've actually become pretty good at being completely honest with ourselves first when there's something we truly don't feel comfortable going to and spending a huge amount of our time at. I think this one is especially important for fellow introverts to take on board, as we don't tend to get our energy or recharge from spending all our spare time surrounded by others, especially those individuals that zap our energy.
By being honest with ourselves and figuring out exactly why we don't want to or even need to attend certain obligation type events, we've learned a lot about ourselves and what we value. We've been able to prioritize those people in our life we do love being around and been more able to catch up with them instead of traipsing around half the distance of the state or yet another obligation kind of event for people we don't actually enjoy spending time with, all because we've known them for years, but they've actually grown into textbook toxic friends who are more interested in tearing you down to make themselves feel better about themselves every single time you make the effort to see them. These are not the kinds of people we want to spend our time seeing, and just like we say in nearly all of our videos, minimalism isn't just about letting go of physical clutter in your life, it's also about being discerning with letting go of mean, belittling, or toxic people in your life, even if you've known them for a really long time.
It's through being honest with ourselves first that we can not only simplify our lives, but actually improve them. So the next time you're invited to something akin to an obligation outing, try to be mindful of how you're feeling about it and why. Clearly, there are some things you will need to attend, even if you don't want to, but try and be intentionally honest with yourself about the reasons for either going or not going. It's actually something I feel quite strongly about, so much so that I even created a free little flowchart linked below in the description, which is incredibly useful if you don't know whether to attend an event or not. There's little lines which guide you through different questions you answer yes or no to, and it helps you find clarity if you should go or not. I find it useful for those particularly tricky situations, so check it out below in the description. It's completely free, and I hope it helps you like it's helped me.
As number 5 on our list, as things we've quit to simplify our own lives, Jess and I have actually quit free-to-air television. For us, the days of watching free-to-air TV are long gone. It's been years since we've watched live TV. The ads on live television are excessive, not to mention the sensationalist news that bombards us with horrible and heart-wrenching stories from all corners of the globe at all hours. That's not to say we don't keep up with the news and the current state of the world. We do, but there's better ways in our experience to keep informed without without endlessly and excessively consuming every single bit of heartbreaking news live on free-to-air television, followed by 10 to 15 ads in a row.
The rate at which we have access to news about literally the worst of humanity is staggering and unlike it's ever been before in history. Thanks to technology and the internet, we now have access to horrors 24/7, live as they're happening, and it's heavy. It's important to be informed, but I think there's many of us feeling what is called compassion fatigue because we're exposed to constant heartbreaking news and the sheer depth and scope of it, whether it's the terrors of war, the climate crisis, endless lists of animals going extinct, the list goes on, and it's hard to know what to do because it never stops. It can feel helpless at times, and without boundaries like switching off the TV, it can pull you under. So 100% keep informed. We're not saying not to, but make sure if you want to uncomplicate your life, have gentle boundaries with yourself so you don't get burnt out. Take care of your mental health because you can't pour from an empty cup. For us personally, simplifying our lives does look like not watching or even having access to live television. We stay informed in other ways that can have firmer boundaries preset by us in terms of protecting our mental health, our time consumption, and our hearts. So yes, we don't have live television in our house, and it's definitely simplified things.
Next on our list, we've quit scrolling on our phones without timers on certain apps. Scrolling through our phones used to be a huge time suck, and with all the notifications and things to see and do from such a small yet powerful screen in the palm of your hand, well, not having a timer on our phones made life more complicated and cumbersome than it needed to be. So we have passcodes and timers set up on every app where it locks us out after we reach a certain predetermined time, and it's drastically simplified our day-to-day. We've mentioned it before on our channel, but it's really been a game changer, so we had to include it here on this list of things we've quit to simplify our lives. Simplifying our lives through literally just spending a few moments on a random Tuesday, going into our problem apps and finding the setting to turn on a daily time limit was revolutionary. This one setting has revolutionized our free time, so it's no longer spent wasted mindlessly scrolling. We have a preset amount of time and we know there's barriers in place so we don't exceed it. If you're keen on simplifying your own life, we can vouch for toggling this time limit setting on. It'll be one of the best things you can do to simplify your own life if you're like us and use your phone a lot.
Next on our quit list, and it's definitely easier said than done, but quitting spending your energy on negative Nellies or unsupportive people is a key way to simplify life. We don't have an infinite amount of time or energy to devote to surrounding ourselves with negative or outwardly unsupportive people in our life. So acknowledging it for what it is and how people make us feel has been something we've needed to become more and more aware of over the years, especially since we ventured out on our own and started our own businesses. Needing to manage where we dedicate our time and who we spend it with has been a struggle at times because there's always going to be certain commitments with certain people, and even if they're excessively pessimistic or negative about you or your life choices, it can be difficult to limit time seeing them if they're old friends or even family members.
But not being discerning with your time and energy or your mental health has far-reaching consequences. Cluttering up your life and schedule or even inbox history with rude, intrusive, or excessively immature or selfish people isn't respecting your time. When people constantly overstep or say hurtful things, not creating some distance between you and them isn't respecting your own boundaries. When the boundaries of your own respect become blurred, life becomes a whole lot more complicated.
So spend some time being intentional and mindful with knowing what you value in a person you want to spend your time and energy with. Know what you value in a good friend or a supportive family member. If things aren't adding up, perhaps it's time to start subtracting. If you want to start not just simplifying, but also improving your life for the better, it's a good idea to prioritize those people in your life you do love and cherish, and be clear and honest with yourself about how much time and energy you realistically want to spend with those negative Nellies in your life. Life gets simpler the more honest you are with yourself and how you're feeling. And humans are social creatures, so if you find yourself constantly feeling drained, hurt, or overwhelmed by spending time with someone, even if that person is a friend or a family member, it could be a good idea to create firmer boundaries and not default to spending your valuable quality time, like your weekends, surrounded by negative people. We're happy with the progress we've made over the past 3 years in particular, and having those tricky conversations, setting boundaries, and protecting our time, energy, and hearts. It's definitely already made life a lot simpler and a lot more enjoyable.
Second to last on our list of things we've quit to make our lives simpler, not planning. Not planning is one of the biggest ways you might be getting in your own way to a simpler life. Not meal planning, not planning your week ahead, not planning where you want your money to go, not using a budget. Life can get needlessly complicated if we don't plan. It means we're always in react mode instead of being proactive. I've not always been a planner, and that feels like an overwhelming and complicated period of my life. It was hard to know what direction to go in with never planning my next steps ahead. So since planning even the simple and repetitive things out, things like once a week we plan out our meals, plan out our schedule, and monthly Jess and I complete our budget, which is essentially just a plan of where our money is going. Life has become a heck of a lot easier. We get overwhelmed far less often, and life is a million times simpler compared to the days where we had no plan. So start simple, figure out one area of your life where planning might make a big difference. I promise there will be one, and start a plan. It will mean you're preemptively being more intentional with how you're spending your time, and its effects on simplifying your life will have a compounding effect.
Last on our list of the things we've quit, we've stopped resisting the season we're in. Sometimes life just is what it is, and more harm than good can be found from rushing through, not acknowledging, or resisting different seasons of life. It's important to respect that at some time in your life, things will just be that difficult season, but it will pass. Whether it's a period of change or grief, or a period of immense happiness, it's important to know that it's okay to feel everything you need to feel when you need to feel it. And resisting certain seasons of life, namely the difficult ones, doesn't always work out so well. It can even make things more complicated. For me personally, the past few years have been focused on getting my health back in order after a scary medical issue with my thyroid and heart. It's been a strange and lengthy period of medical appointments, feeling incredibly unwell, and I've definitely found myself at times resisting this weird period of life and pushing myself to just feel better. I haven't always acknowledged what I actually needed at times, like rest, and instead pushed through and ended up putting myself in some pretty awful situations and made things far more complicated health-wise than they needed to be. I felt the guilt of staying home yet again and tried to bulldoze through the very real stage of life I've been at, which has needed to prioritize rest and taking care of my overexerted heart. I've needed to focus on just getting better, resting, prioritizing my safety by not driving long distances away from home or the nearest hospital, and not resisting the season of ill health and everything that goes along with it. In the moments of upset that I can't do everything I once could, I have found clarity in letting myself just be and respecting that I'm in a stage of life right now that, although frustrating, is not something to be ignored and rushed through, because that's just not possible. It causes more harm than good. I've tried it and it just makes things more complicated. So whatever season of life you're at the moment, be gentle on yourself. Feel what you need to feel, but don't resist the season and everything that goes along with getting through it. To get out the other side, the best course is to go through it. So whatever season of life you're in right now, feel it, acknowledge it, and work through it, and don't resist it. Find ways to see the simple joys in life and know that things will get simpler the more you're honest with yourself about what it is you need in this current season of life.
So there we have it, our list of 9 things we've quit to simplify our own lives. This list isn't prescriptive in any way. These are just the things that we've quit to simplify our lives, and we're sharing it here in the hopes it's helpful to you, or perhaps even sparks a thought to how you might be able to simplify things in your own life.
We're in no way saying you need to quit anything on this list if you don't want to. Everyone's different and has different lives with different values, commitments, and responsibilities. These are just the things we've quit on our own journey to making our life simpler. We hope it's been useful and serves as a thought-provoking prompt to think about the things in your own life you might want to usher out in the efforts of ushering in a new era of simplicity. This list was quite a bit more personal than our usual content, but we hope you found it useful. Let us know below what's something you've quit to simplify your own life.
And until next time,
Bye.
bye.
What are you doing? What are you...
Hairbrush burn.